Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be going super fast because I only have about 8 minutes left on memory. So we're going to get started right now. So the last book of the Three Sisters Trilogy is Face the Fire by Nora Roberts. So this is the third and final installment of the Three Sisters Trilogy on Three Sisters Island. Super quick recap. Nell came to the island fleeing an abusive husband. By the time he came to get her, she'd already realized that she and two other women on the island were witches, and they turn his evil back on him. He goes completely crazy and gets institutionalized. She then marries Zachary Todd, Ripley's brother, and so that was the end of their story. Ripley Todd ends up meeting McAllister Book, who is a paranormal researcher. She doesn't like it because she doesn't like the paranormal, because she realized she couldn't handle herself and she wasn't strong enough to handle her power. Turned her back on it at a very young age, along with her best friend Mia. And in her story, she has to figure out how to handle it, how to completely get past her mental blocks and move forward so that this centuries-old curse that created the island doesn't catch up to them. So that was a super quick recap. So here we go. There is a trigger warning for this story. There is insinuation of rape in this story. It is not cool. It's very creepy and weird, but when we get to that, I will obviously give the disclaimer. So once again, we are starting in the past. It is September of 1702. The sister known as Erin, sister known as Earth, are both dead. And unfortunately, Fire's husband is gone. This one required a little bit of research because they refer to her husband as being a Selkie. It actually has its basis in different forms of mythology. They used the traditional Scottish Celtic mythology for this, which is a Selkie is a sea person who is basically a seal, but when they come on land, they can remove their skin or pelt and become a human. Fire had found a Selkie in a cave, instantly fallen in love with him, took his pelt and hid it from him, binding him to her. They got married, had kids. Eventually down the road, he found his pelt, put it back on, at which point the sea immediately called to him. He left, completely forgot about his wife, completely forgot about his children, and just left. So here she is. She's alone. She has her children. She has no sisters. Her husband is gone. She doesn't know what to do. She's completely depressed. She's in full-on despair. And this whole time, there is this dark entity off of the island moving forward, constantly whispering in her ear, just put yourself out of your misery. You don't need to go on like this. And she's decided she is going to give in. However, she cannot leave her children and her sister's children unprotected. So she's already made arrangements for the children to be left with their nursemaid who will care for them and raise them. And then her final spell that she casts, she's on the cliffs, also known as Mia's Cliffs. They've already been referenced before. And she casts a spell. The spell is that for 300 years, you cannot touch the island, you cannot touch my children, you cannot touch their descendants. You will not touch anybody associated with our family in this island, basically, for 300 years. After 300 years, 3 descendants of the sisters will come back, face the same conflicts, and if they choose better, then you can't harm anybody. However, if they fail, then the island will sink into the ocean. And the very last part of the spell, I'm going to give the exact quote. As she plunged toward the sea, she hurled her power around the island where her children slept like a silver net. So that's where that came from. So the beginning of the modern part of the story is May 2002. Sam Logan is coming back to the island. He is Mia's past love interest, and he has decided he's going to come back to the island, and he is going to win Mia back because she is the love of his life, and he finally dealt with whatever the issues were that caused him to leave. However, there's a problem because Mia has put some huge walls and barriers up around herself pertaining to Sam, pertaining to romantic love, because of the emotional distress that she went through when he left her alone on the island. And this brings us directly to her conflict. Earlier in the very opening scene, before the spell was cast, it was stated that her lesson was she had to love without barriers. And she's got a lot of barriers around her. So once again, we have an evil darkness that has targeted the original three sisters and is back and gaining more power, to the point he's gaining more power by stirring trouble on the island, but also partly from its possession of Evan Remington, who is still in a mental institution. The evil is so powerful, it is actively manifesting itself as a black wolf, directly attacking Mia and her longtime mother figure, Lulu. It has grown so strong that in one scene, Mia has gone to speak with Evan Remington in person, hoping to find a way to sever the connection he has with this entity. But that hope ends with what happened. Here's your trigger warning. Remington tells Mia he'll F you before he kills you. Want a preview? Then Mia is overcome by the feeling of being sexually assaulted, including the actual physical pain of the act. Throughout the story, you really have no idea which way Mia is going to go pertaining to her relationship with Sam Logan. Apparently there is two outcomes that could cause a positive end result based off of readings and theories that they've been working with. And one is the obvious one, being that Mia learns to love Sam without boundaries again, and they have their happily ever after. However, the other possible outcome is that she sacrificed herself the way Fire did. However, because it wouldn't be a mournful, distressed, desperate, selfish act out of pain and mourning, everybody she loves is still alive, so it would actually be a selfless, boundless love act. So I'm not gonna lie, this one actually had me kind of guessing throughout the entirety of the story, because you don't know which way she's gonna go. When you find out that there's this other option of what could happen, and you see how much she is still fighting her pull to Sam, you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm not gonna tell you, because that would defeat the point of doing a review to try and get you to go read it. So, of course, it's the final book, so all of the loose ends get tied up. And as a result, we do end up in a situation yet again where there's a lack of character development. However, there's a lot of character development that had already happened on previous stories to build on. The big character development is Mia, her getting over what happened with her and Sam, but also Sam getting over this feeling of claustrophobia that their predetermined destinies had always kind of created for him. So, like I said, not as much character development, but there was a lot more focus on the supernatural, which was really super fun. You had, the wolf, you had all this weird stuff that was going on. It was super fun. However, it wasn't as balanced as it could be, because all the supernatural stuff was at the cost of storyline and character development. So all in all, I'd say this is a 3.5 stars out of 5. And I am running out of time, so bye-bye.